Hey friends, welcome back to Coal Country Homestead. To say that it's been a while would be an understatement. For you, it's probably just been normal seeming, probably about a week since you saw our last video. But in reality, it's been like 2 months since like 2 weeks. 2 months would be a long time. It's been about 2 weeks since I have filmed anything in our kitchen. So I thought I would jump back in today and share a little story time with you. As I'm prepping, I'm going to be making our canned balsamic Brussels sprouts. I will be sure to link in the comments below to our Facebook page where I have the recipe posted and you can print it on a nice sheet of paper. It's all put together. So if you are squeamish at all, I will also put here where you can jump to in the video to skip my whole story. But yeah, let's get into it. So as you see, I still have my injury. I'm going to do my best here to try to do this, and I don't know how much I will actually get done before I have to call either the kids or Zachary in. But as you all know, if you have been watching, back in April, I got an injury. And I believe I've shared with you all, but if not, so what happened was I have a almost entire amputation of the end part of my finger. Show you here, like from here up. And it was a very traumatic incident. It wasn't something that I could have avoided. And since then, it's been a bit of a roller coaster. So obviously with any traumatic injury, you have the mental part of that and also the physical pain associated with it. And obviously I'm no exception to that. I'm a human, right? So that was now just about 2 months ago that occurred, because we're in June now. And we still don't know if I will in fact get to keep my nice long finger, or if I will have to undergo a surgery to have that amputated. And the reason being is that the no reason that the doctors could explain, and I followed all of my doctor's orders to the T with medication and all of everything considered. But I ended up with a bone infection. And if your bone is infected and cannot heal, eventually your bone dies. So we don't want that to happen. And on top of that, I then ended up getting a skin or flesh infection, which I was super freaked out by, but my doctors weren't super worried about, because they said, again, if we can't heal the bone, there's no concern if your skin or flesh is infected. Not exactly what you want to hear as the patient, but nonetheless, I continued on with all of the medications, changes of medications, treatments, and so on and so forth. So here we are now 2 months later. I don't go for another checkup for about 2 weeks. So we should find out something then. And I've already made peace with the fact that I may potentially have just a short finger there, but I am ready to have life back to some kind of normal. So the reason you haven't seen me in the kitchen filming for over 2 weeks is because I heeded my doctor's orders, and especially Zachary and the girls' orders of just taking it easy and concentrating on trying to heal and just taking some self-care for myself. So in that time, we've had a lot happen. We've had a surgery on one of our pups. We've unfortunately have had lost one of our pups. So we've had a lot of life goings on, and such is life, right? I mean, you have life, you have loss, you have lessons, and you just got to keep trucking through. Now, also during this time, we've had a lot of good things happen too. We got to go away as a family for some camping time, which, if it may have already come out by now, the video from that. And I essentially did nothing on that trip. I couldn't touch anything. I couldn't, get my hands at all dirty or wet, because ultimately this hand would touch that hand. So I got to sit on what I've called my princess chair and just soak it all in. And it was lovely. But we had bobcats outside of our tent. So that was the first experience we've ever had of that. And if you haven't watched our camping video, or if it isn't out yet, we only camp in tents. We don't camp in a camper. We are primitive tent campers, to give you a little glimpse there. We also had our Isabella have her move up ceremony from her current school up to the big kids school, which was a big deal. No more babies. And Angelina is healing well as well. I know I had shared with you that she had a surgery early spring, not even spring, late winter. She had a surgery, so she's doing good. Also, Zachary is always just trucking along. He's my good old dependable. He always seems to persevere through anything, and I'm always thankful for him. And he worked his tail off in our garden to try to get things ready. And if you have been watching our garden tours, you've seen this has not been a kind spring to gardeners whatsoever. We had 2 late frosts beyond our anticipated last frost date. We even had things in the ground later than we would have liked to because of everything going on in life. And even with that, we ended up having a lot of loss in our garden because of the 2 rounds of late frost. We had a late frost, which killed off quite a few of our starts and seedlings that we had planted in the garden. And then we replaced a bunch of them, had another frost, which wiped out some more. And then for the first time ever this year, we had rabbit damage in our garden. We have never experienced rabbit damage, especially to this extent. While we are away, my mother is always in charge of all of the animals and the garden, and she handles all the watering of that, and she knows what she's doing. But one night she went to bed. Next morning she woke up, and all of our cold crops that were planted in a section of our garden, and I mean probably over 100 plants, were completely gone. They were big flourishing plants the night before, and the next day they were nothing but little stems. So, and we are not the only ones that have experienced all of this, especially in Pennsylvania this year with all of the crazy frost. So Zachary and I went ahead and purchased a bunch of starts to replace all of those items, which are still waiting to be planted. We also have had next to no rain. So it's been a spring, but we are continuing to chug along and truck along. And please, share with me in the comments if you have, something that's going on that you feel like you need to get it off your chest, or just chat with. I'd like to think that we are all good friends here, and community is really what all of this is about, right? We're here to learn from each other and support one another. Which brings me to another thought, and I have wrestled with this back and forth quite a bit. of how to comment or address this at all, or if I should even. And Zachary and I are of different schools of thought when it comes to this kind of thing. But I recently had a video, and I know the comment was very well intended and from the heart and super sweet, but it was commenting, and I will not highlight the comment whatsoever. I don't want anything of the sort to happen. But it was along the lines of something that I had said to Zachary in joking, and about how I shouldn't behave in such a manner. And that occurrence in that video was a very joking, just in jest. It was very well natured. Here I hear the dogs coming down the stairs. There's my mookers. But the comment was made that we're not having a good, it wasn't a good kind of vibe to put out there, basically, and that no other homesteaders act like that. And I think as a content creator, because essentially that's what we all are. If you're on YouTube and you're making videos, you are creating content, whether it's just your regular life or if you're putting out some kind of, persona, which we are not. We are just showcasing our life as it is. And so I think it's very hard for me to justify changing how we kind of joke around with each other or sugarcoat things. We live in a very real world with very real and sometimes heavy situations. And Zachary and I have always dealt with all of this in a very joking manner. So you will often hear us maybe say some things that others won't, but it is always filled with love and appreciation of each other. We try to not take ourselves so seriously and try to make light of some funny things that happen along the way, and not so funny things. So my doggy just came down the stairs, so I'm going to let them out real quick, and I'll be right back with you. All right, so I suppose that was more than enough of me blabbering on. Sometimes you just feel compelled to get on here and chit chat. So let's get to the point of today's whole video, right? We are doing my balsamic canned Brussels sprouts. So what I'm doing here is, in my favorite little Flash app, I was able to get these discounted at our local grocery store. So each bag was $1, and each bag is 12 ounces. So that was a pretty good deal. These are going to all be cleaned up. What I'm doing is I'm trimming off the bottom and any leaves that don't look so great. If it is a smaller Brussels sprout, I'm just going to leave it whole. And some of the big ones I am chopping in half, lengthwise. This will all go to our chickens. And I didn't mention either, we have new life on our homestead of our little ducklings. They are just the cutest little things. There are 6 baby ducklings that were hatched by Mama Duck. Probably, I want to say, the day after Memorial Day, because we were just traveling home the following day, and that's when we discovered them. So, new life and fresh start on some things. So we have lots of good things to look forward to. So I'm prepping all of these Brussels sprouts, and then the girls will be helping me finish these. This is one of their favorite, especially Angelina, favorite canned items, and it's super simple. I was very nervous when we did this for the first time, and we even shared with you our first taste test in one of our early videos. But since then, they're always a requested item to have as a dinner side or to have on top of a salad. And there's so many ways to use them. You can eat them straight out of the jar. You can roast them up, like we typically roast them up in the air fryer and make them a little crispy. But they're addicting. Like once you start eating it, you don't want to stop. Super good. So I am gonna choppity chop the rest of these and we will go from there. All right, well, in the time that second that you were gone, essentially, it's been a few hours, and so there's lots of other projects that are happening even behind me. But I got my electric canner out. I think that's what I'm going to use for the Brussels sprouts. I'm also going to be working on some whole berry cranberry juice because I want to clean out the freezer of things that don't need to be in there. And I need to do some freezer organization of our various freezers to make it more efficient. So we have lots of scraps to go to the chickens and the ducks. And we have our Brussels sprouts. Now, again, I'm going to have this posted on our Facebook of the recipe that I am using. I am changing it slightly because in my recipe I did 2 cloves of garlic per quart, and we really liked the garlic when it came out. So I'm actually going to do about 1/4 of a cup, roughly, of garlic, and I also did not put any peppers in when I did this originally. So I'm also going to put some diced peppers in there with the diced onions. So it's going to be slightly different than when I initially made it. My goal is to do 6 quarts, and then I'm going to do a fridge jar of all of the components to have some quick that we can just grab out for salads instead of going through the process of canning it and then needing to open up the jar. This is just going to be a simple grab from the fridge. Zachary is out right now in the garden setting up a new fencing around our broccoli and cabbage area to try and keep out, it might even be a groundhog. We think that there may be a groundhog on the neighboring property that may have gotten into the garden. So we are going to put some extra reinforcements up there. And he has a few garden beds to prep yet. The girls are going to be in to help me shortly with the cranberry juice. My brain's going all different directions. And we're going to get this done. But in all of this, you can tell that I'm out of practice because I started this whole project and I realized I had no balsamic vinegar. So thank goodness for things that we have conveniences now like Instacart because I'm getting some delivered. Don't do that too often, but we have so many projects going on today. I'm going to take that resource and use it. So let's get these into the jars. I need a glove first. And if you noticed, I have been struggling with like a little sandwich bag over this hand, and that's because I don't want to actually enclose my hand in a glove and cause any issues. I still want to have like airflow. So I will be doing this one-handed, and let's get it done. All right. So as I said, we are going to do about 1/4 cup of garlic in each of these. While you were a second behind too, I started our dinner for the day. So in our crock pot, which is just out of your sight over here, I have some salsa, chicken breasts, corn, black beans, and taco seasoning. And that is all going to cook down. That chicken's going to shred beautifully. And then that will be our dinner for tonight. Can be used for like a taquito, a taco, a quesadilla, whatever you like. You could even turn it into a soup. There's lots of options for it. So that's going to be a quick and easy dinner later on. I'm just referencing my recipe here because it's very rare that I do the same thing twice. So we have our, okay, so we're going to do 1/4 cup. So I did a 1/4 cup of the garlic. We're going to do a 1/4 cup of our diced peppers. And I want to know, how is gardening going for everyone else this year? Because it seems like in Pennsylvania, everywhere we turn, we keep hearing about people just struggling this year, either not germinating, or losing so much to the frost, or just like random things that they've never experienced in all of their years gardening. And we're no exception to that. So I'd love to know how everyone else is doing. I would love to hear that you're all doing really well, and it's just a really odd thing that we're experiencing. So let me know in the comments. Okay, so now we are going to do a 1/2 cup of onion. And then we are going to jam pack these jars with our Brussels sprouts. This is like a combination of a hot and cold pack. The liquids that we are going to put in here are obviously going to be hot. The brine is going to be hot, but I am not cooking these in any way, shape, or form before processing in the canner. And because this is such a high acid recipe, this is able to be water bathed, which is great. All right. I might even add a 7th quart because I know that I can fit 7 quarts in, but let's see what we have left. It is a Sunday here too, which always means we have some extra projects we want to get done, and on top of all of our normal everyday kind of chores that need to be done. Well, I would like to know what everyone is working on your homesteads, what your hope is to get done maybe this coming week. I know we have a lot that we would like to get done. I know you have all seen our green pool in our videos, and we had our pool pump broke at the end of last season. So that is the new one is in, and that is about a project that is about to be underway. My mother's the one that really handles the pool, so she will be heading up that project. But soon we will have some nice clear water out there. Okay, so I got our jar stuffed, and I'm going to pause on this for just a few minutes because our Instacart order with the vinegar and the rest of the things that I need will be here shortly. And I am going to start working on our next project, which is going to be our whole berry cranberry juice. And this is super easy. You take whole cranberries, you take sugar, and you take water, and you put it in your jar. Now I'm going to do a really big batch of this because I want all of this out of my freezer. So I'm going to use my outdoor kitchen area for that. So we're going to start with cold water, cold cranberries, cold water in our canner, and we're going to slowly bring the temperature up and process them out there. That we were not bringing a bunch of heat in our house right now, since we don't have central air and it gets really hot in here really fast. So let's fill the jars. These jars are all clean, have been washed. Angelina was supposed to verify that there are no chips on them anywhere. Some of these are older, like this is an old glass mayo jar. I've got jars everywhere, from just buying them at the regular store to garage sales too. Zachary had already picked some up like while he was working. See, now this one has a tiny little nick in the surface, which could prevent it from sealing. So I'm going to start with those. Probably go get more. We're going to make as many as we have cranberries for. And we are doing 1 3/4 cup of cranberries. This here is a 1 1/2 cup scoop, so I'm just going to do a heaping scoop. Now, canning whole cranberry juice is a lot less work upfront, but you do need to leave it time to develop essentially in the jar after it's canned. So if you want cranberry juice like right away, then you're better off doing a traditional juiced juice. A juice. I believe each bag here should be about 2. Yep, just about 2. So maybe we're going to be more around like 1 1/2 cups. I purchased these cranberries back at Thanksgiving time, actually right after Thanksgiving, when they all go on sale. And I think I paid like 99 cents a bag, maybe. And if you've ever bought pure cranberry juice at the store, not the blend, pure cranberry, you know how expensive it is. They like to fool you. If you ever go down the juice aisle and they say 100% juice, cranberry juice, it's 100% juice, but it's not all cranberry juice if you look at the ingredients on most of them. Well, I'm definitely going to need some more jars, but I am excited to have some space back in my freezer. So we have what, 3, 6, 9, 10, and then we're gonna 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 more, 10 more quarts. So I'm gonna go grab those. Okay, so we are fully supplied now with everything we need for the rest of this recipe. So in the jars, I added our salt and our pepper, which each jar gets an 1/2 of a teaspoon of salt, 1/8 of a teaspoon of pickle crisp, and I did like a 1/16 of a teaspoon of pepper in each. So let's get our pickle crisp in, and then we're going to get our brine going, and then we will adjust the headspace of the jars as we are putting our brine in, because these are all kind of a little wacky right now. And I'm estimating that this jar is about 3 times the amount in total. So in here we have our sugar, and I'm doubling this. I did 3 cups of sugar the last time. I am doing 5 cups to cut the sweetness just a little bit for me, because the sugar is not my friend. And we need 8 cups of balsamic vinegar. So each of these are just a bit over 16 ounces. We have Old Man Hunter trying to knock the camera over. See if I can pop. Oh! There's a blooper for you. just got balsamic vinegar all over. All right, so each of these, like I said, is a little over 2 cups. All over me. That's all right. This is an old t-shirt. See if I'll maybe just try that. Oh no, that would take forever. That would take forever. If you notice to my right, what probably appears on my left, is the cranberries. Isabella added our sugar in each of those jars. So we have a 1/2 cup of sugar in each of the jars with our 1.5 cups of cranberries. And then we are going to fill them with cool water. I'm making a mess. Balsamic vinegar smells so good. Zachary managed to get the fencing up outside, and now he's working on his next project. All right, so there is our 2, 4, 6, 8 cups of vinegar, balsamic vinegar, and then we are doing 4 cups of white wine vinegar. And for me, like quality and price wise, the best vinegar in our area that I find, especially for canning and the specialty like balsamic and the white wine, is to buy it at Aldi. It's 16.9 ounces, so it's a little over 2 cups, but I'd rather have a little extra brine than not enough. You got it. All right, then I also need white wine. All right, so we're getting our wine in, and then in here we also have to put, well, you don't have to put, but I choose to put some kind of other seasoning in the brine. And this, I have like a Kickin' honey. The last time I had Kickin' maple, which I really, really liked. But we live really far away from the store where I purchased it from, so I haven't been able to find it again. But we'll see. So this is our Kickin' honey. Yeah. So about 4 tablespoons that turned out to be. All right, so I'm going to clean up some of this mess, and I'm going to bring this up to temp, and then we are going to ladle it into our jars. So I'll see you in a second. Girls are filling the cranberry with fresh water here. Spacing for the cranberries is a 1/4 inch headspace, and we're using cool water, and then we're going to get these out to the big canner, and I have still heating up the brine for the Brussels sprouts. So I'm going to start getting lids on these jars and start ferrying them out. We're going to need those inside, baby. Welcome to my humble outdoor kitchen that Zachary so lovingly put together for me. I am going to get into this massive cauldron of a pot our cranberry juice and get this going. I did turn this on just a little bit before, and it actually is a little bit warmer than I'd like. So I am going to give that a few minutes. I turned the heat off, and I'm going to let that cool a bit, and I'm going to go get the rest of our cranberry juice. Yep, those are regular ones. Those are Superb brand. Those have the thick blue on them. I really like those lids. Well, these ones you don't have to hold everything. These ones you don't have to hold everything. All right, so my projects always take like triple the time because I'm helping manage projects out there, doing all the different things. You don't want to tighten it too much. Just fingertip, okay? Just like that. You don't want to crank it down with your wrist, okay? I just inhaled some vinegar. Whew. I like the smell of it, but inhaling it's a whole other story.
Same story.
Same story. We got some dishes over here we got to do. All right. So this was boiling. We are going to put this in and then adjust our headspace as we need to. This requires a 1/2 inch headspace. Now, these you want to make sure that you wipe your rim real good before putting your lids on. And here's my funnel. I have seen canning recipes for pickling, oh my goodness, this vinegar, for pickling Brussels sprouts, where they actually like put the Brussels sprouts in the brine for a few minutes. But I really like how ours stayed like nice and crisp. I like using a smaller ladle for this as well, because by pouring a little bit in at a time, it helps to not have a lot of air bubbles. You do not want to have air bubbles because it will cause the actual, like the product, the Brussels sprouts, to end up being above your brine line. And that can still happen, especially if you have siphoning, which isn't very common in water bath canning, or if you just have a disproportionate amount of liquid to your Brussels sprouts. It happens. Would you like to get a paper towel with some clean vinegar on it that we can use to wipe the rims? To make sure that there's no sticky brine on the jar rim. Did you take them outside maybe? Just get a fresh roll. That was a messy one. You do not want to get balsamic vinegar on that hoodie of yours, that nice red hoodie. So I would suggest putting an apron on if you were going to help with this part. Okay. While you do that, I'm going to run the cranberries outside. Get those started. All right, so we have our cranberries. We are going to place those in our canner. And this is just about the biggest canner that I could find for water bathing. I couldn't remember exactly how many quarts this held, so we may end up needing to do 2 batches, which is fine. I will warn you that this is so heavy when it is filled with water, I can't pick it up. So if weight could potentially be a deterrent for you, I would not get this. But Zachary does the heavy lifting for me. We need to move those a little bit. Since my jars, some of them are older, they are of varying dimension. One over there. There we go. So we have 3, 6, 8, 10 quarts fit in here. So 2, 4, 6, 8. That's perfect. I will have 2 full batches to go in there. So I'm going to slide the rest of these over. One of the main requirements I had when Zachary was deciding to build this was that I had ample countertop space so that I would be able to pull the jars out when they are done processing and be able to line them up to cool down. And also it gives me a nice prep area in the summertime. It's not crowded, don't have to worry about anything, and it's more than high enough that I don't need to worry about the dogs or the kids or anything like that. And we have a nice big burner here. Something that we did add for this season is back here, he put a little extension because this was right against the brick. I wasn't able to put a pot back here and the front without it just being awkward. So now I have extra room on that side. And in the middle, we have a power burner, turbo boil burner, but I am not going to turbo this. I'm going to slowly bring this up to temperature. And once it is up to temperature and it starts a rolling boil is when I will start my timer. I have no concern of over processing this because it's literally being steeped out of the cranberries. So we will let this take its time and get back to our Brussels sprouts to get them in our electric canner, which I decided to bring out here as well. That way there's no heat in the house. All right, guys, so I don't even know if I've ever showed you my Fresh Tech Ball electric water bath can before. I typically don't use it that much in the summertime. This is more something that I will use in the winter when I want to free up a burner in the house. And it also like puts some nice moisture into our home, which we have pool heat, so there is no moisture in the winter. But I love this. It makes it so easy. I just set it. It boils, stays warm. I don't have to mess with it. It's really nice. It was a little bit of an investment to get, and I'll see if I can find a link for you all. I'm not sure if I can, but I will do my best. So we have our water in here is hot. It is not at a rolling boil, but it is hot. So we are going to put these all in, and then we're going to crank up our heat to where it says canning. And we are going to let these do their thing. Our water looks like it is just a little short. I think I need a splash of vinegar. That was more than a splash. Need a splash of vinegar in there. And then we are going to, like I said, turn this all the way to canning, put our lid on, and once that is at a rolling boil, we will set our timer. I have to reference my recipe, but I believe it is 10 minutes processing time. So we'll get that going. I was wrong. It is 15 minutes of processing time once it is to a full boil for the quarts. If you do pints, you would do 10 minutes. So let's clean this up. The kitchen quickly looks like it has blown up, especially when canning. This is one of my favorite little tricks here. It's just a cheapy napkin paper towel holder, and I use this to keep the rings organized, especially during a canning project. I'll move that over to the side, put our unused lids away. Isabella's doing the cha-cha in the corner. You can turn that off, Val. And then we are going to fill our big fridge jar. So I decided to reboil the brine so it was nice and hot when it would go into this jar, especially since this is not being processed. And I am going to live life on the edge here. Don't breathe deeply. Give that a chance to settle down. Let out some of those air bubbles. And we're going to top it off. I couldn't have planned this amount of brine any better. Oh, look at that. All right. So this is just going to be closed up, put in the fridge once it's cool, because this is like burning hot right now. Once this is cool, this will go into the fridge, and we'll let it simmer or come together, I should say, for a few days before trying one. But I bet you this is going to be a summer favorite, and we have everything else out there processing. So I think we better have some lunch because it's getting late, and we'll bring you back shortly. Okay, so it's time to start unloading our canner. These processed for their time. They've been in the water with it off and the lid off for an additional 5, it's almost 10 minutes now. Family had lunch quickly, and I'm just looking for my jar lifter, which I think my other one walked away. It must have went inside. I would bet that Isabella took it. So we are going to use my trusty standby. It's a little dusty from being out here, but we are going to pull these out. And this is a great use for old towels for letting your jars to cool, because especially when you water bath, you're going to have lots of water on the jar itself and the lid. These look good. There we have it. 7 quarts of our balsamic Brussels sprouts. Closer view here. Look at those beautiful Brussels sprouts. And this is what you're looking for in your water bath. That is a full rolling boil. Let me get this lid back on, and I'm starting the processing now. Well, I thought I had to bring you all back for the reveal of the cranberry juice. So this has sat in here long enough to cool. And look at that, already extracting the juice. And as this sits and develops, of course, the cranberries are going to soak down, and this will be some beautiful pure cranberry juice very shortly. Thank you, as always, for taking time to join me. I know this video is a little sporadic. Hopefully I can really get back in the kitchen soon enough, but I am still going to take it slow, especially until I find out any more information about my finger on the 14th. So send me some good vibes. But yeah, just thanks for taking time out of your day. I hope that you like and subscribe if you haven't already, to see all of our future homesteading and canning and cooking and just being us. Zachary is still out in the garden. He got lots and lots of potatoes planted, and he is waiting very patiently for me to join him to figure out all of the broccoli and everything else that we need to replant. So I will be heading out there. Dinner is finishing up in the crock pot. All of my kitchen management essentially is done for the day. Every Sunday I like to go through any of our fridge or freezer and make sure that there isn't anything that needs to be used up, and if so, what my plans are with it. Since I have not been in the kitchen, well, everyone is doing a really great job. They don't have the years of experience that I do, so they have done wonderful, but I really want to get back in there. So I spent a lot of time today, just took my time and putzed around, and my girls of course joined me. So I'm gonna get this on and do our last batch, and I'll see you all later.